Wait a minute. What's going on here? Hey, everybody. Welcome to Streaming Star Wars, the show where Nick doesn't know what to do because Pete's not here. So, happy Friday. Pete's not here. Broken it already, Chris. This is what happens when you agree to help me. I break everything, and we haven't even gotten on the air yet.
You sure I'm not the bad luck charm here?
No, I'm sure it's not you. How are you, my friend? Happy Friday.
How you doing, brother?
I'm so glad to see you. I'm glad to be here in our matching Weird Space Friends
shirt.
Hey,
you know,
representing, no question about it.
Yeah,
I knew when I asked you to do this, or when Pete texted you and said, "Hey, I'm going to be out. Do you want to jump in and host with Nick?" I was like, "It's a Weird Space Friends night. This is the way it's going to be. No question about it." So, you understood the assignment. You got the uniform going on, and we're here to hang out. How's your week been?
Hot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
very hot. But I'm so like I'm just trying to brace myself for all this content that's been coming out lately. Of course now we got. I'm almost glad that Andor is like another pushed back another 3-4 weeks,
right?
Because there's so much out that I just want to make sure everything gets my proper attention.
That's right. You got to pace yourself because this bountiful harvest of Star Wars that we're getting, if you get too much too soon, you don't get to savor it all. You don't get to enjoy every spicy last drop of it. And we're going to get into that date being pushed back here in a little bit when we talk about the trailer and we get into some of our main discussions tonight, because I'm interested to hear some thoughts about it. And also there's something in the news this week that Diego Luna himself kind of answered a question about that. So interested to see what your thoughts are. We're here tonight. We're going to say hello to the live chat. I see the lovely Raven has chimed in. I see Brian. Harper is here in the house tonight. Harper's excited to see Chris. Good to see Harper. I know we've got other folks that are going to hang out and join us tonight. We're going to do a bunch of stuff, Chris. We're going to do the news here in a minute. We're going to talk about the Andor trailer. We're going to talk about the Andor release date being pushed back. We're also going to get into the Lego Star Wars Summer Vacation that dropped today. I'm really excited about that. I was actually really pleasantly surprised when I watched that. We're going to unpack that a little bit. And I thought something that would be fun, because as you and I and Pete have had a bunch of conversations about being Weird Space Friends and what does that mean, both at Celebration, after the fact, one of the things that we tend to circle back to is being some of the old guys in our Star Wars circles and in our, fan groups and pod groups and folks that we were around. And so what I thought would be a little bit fun would be to paint the idea of the Lego Star Wars, the series overall, as we've gotten it with Freemaker, the other specials, and kind of paint that against the backdrop of what you and I grew up with, which were the Droids animated series, the Ewoks animated series, because there's some stuff there that I want to unpack. And I think that would be a fun, way to paint that. Okay. And then in a little bit tonight, we're also going to take some callers. So we'll have some friends that'll jump on. We'll throw the link out there in a little bit. Again, super excited everybody's hanging out with us tonight. I see JD just showed up.
JD.
Before we get to those things and before we get to the news, we do have something kind of important that we want to talk about. Let me run this video clip and then we'll come back and we'll dig into Podathon for a minute. How's that sound?
Let's do it.
Podathon 2021. Scotty J-Ro is sitting next to me. I am Pete Blitzer. How is everybody doing this morning?
Before the stream started, we were right at 3,000. So we doubled what we expected. And Pete, let's announce our new goal today. And I think we're going to get it. I in my heart of hearts, I think we're going to get it.
We want to hit $5,000 today.
Yeah, this is great. I mean, get to talk about Star Wars, get to talk about fandom, and raise money for a fantastic charity. That's a win-win.
We got Scotty $44.95. $505 away from from making it to our goal, which has already been pushed out and pushed out and pushed out and pushed out.
Oh, we did it.
We got a tremendous donation from Ann Condry, who's going to be a guest later, so I can't wait to thank her in person.
Damn it.
Damn it, Nick. It's all my fault.
It's not your fault at all. Hey, so Podathon 2022, Saturday, September 17th. That was my fault. I was trying to switch out of brands and I didn't realize it would kick me out of what I was doing. That's on me. I did that. I was trying to be prepared and have clips loaded up ahead of time. That's what you get for thinking ahead. So Podathon, Chris, let's talk about that for a minute.
Let's do it.
That video that you would have seen the end of, that we have run a couple times. I think we ran it on the Podathon Twitter feed earlier this week. Podathon last year, we raised over $8,200 for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. I know most of our friends that are hanging out tonight probably are already very aware of Podathon, but if you're new, if you're tuned in and you're not, Podathon is the charity event that Pete and Scotty started 2 years ago. This will be the third year. All the money benefits the Make-A-Wish Foundation. The first year, they raised a little over $2,000. Last year, we did an all-day stream for about 12 hours. Podcast of the Wills was a part of that. Bro Axiom was a part of that. And like I said, we raised about $8,200 for Make-A-Wish. Some great things that I love to highlight when we talk about Podathon. First and foremost, every single penny that's donated goes directly to Make-A-Wish. We don't handle the money. It doesn't come to Pete. It doesn't come to Scotty. It's a Make-A-Wish link through their fundraising part of what Make-A-Wish is. So when you click on that link, it even says makeawish.org or whatever. It goes directly to them. A very, very worthy charity. A very Star Wars involved charity. There are a lot of, 501st gets involved with that. With Galaxy's Edge becoming a thing, there are a lot of families that go and do Star Wars wishes. In fact, we've ran a video last year, and I think we're going to do another one this year. One of my best friends here in Montgomery, his daughter is a Make-A-Wish child, and her wish was put on hold during pandemic, obviously for all the reasons the world was put on hold. But they, I think, are headed sometimes this fall or winter to Disney World, and that was her Make-A-Wish wish. Very, very worthwhile charity. Last year, you guys had the amazing Charles Soule on to talk about comics, and you got some reveals out of that. You got a little scoop out of that, which was pretty fantastic. Yeah. I had Paul Sun-Young Lee, who was Carson Teva in The Mandalorian. He was my guest. We had Dave Filoni's wife, Ian Convery. We had Claudia Gray. Gosh, I'm blanking. There were so many great shows, so many great guests, all coming together. 12, almost really like 14 full hours of podcasting. Yeah. We're doing it again this year. And we have had some meetings. We have 15 shows involved this year. So we're trying to figure out how to fit 15 shows into 12 hours. A little bit of creativity on Scotty and Pete and I's part, but we're excited about it. But the big news that dropped this week is our headliner for Podathon this year. Star Wars fans may have heard of him. Recent movie fans may have heard of him and will again, because Glass Onion comes out just like another week after the Podathon. Mr. Ryan Johnson recorded an interview earlier this week with our good friend Alden Diaz from Octo Radio. And he recorded a Podathon ad. We've already run that on the podcast or on the Twitter feed. Big news, big deal. Ryan Johnson doesn't do Star Wars interviews, and he hasn't done one in... The only one I think he has done in any kind of recent history was there was a girl that had won the opportunity to interview him as a part of some other charity like auction. Like she donated X number of dollars to interview him. And I think it ended up kind of being one of these, kind of funky situations. Like it took a long time for it to happen. And it just was, that's not his deal. Like he's moved on. Of course, he engages occasionally on The Last Jedi on Twitter, which I love. But he did Knives Out, which is a fantastic movie. And Knives Out 2, Glass Onion, comes out in September, and I'm excited for that.
I still haven't watched that movie. I got to watch it.
Oh, man. You really need to. It's a lot of fun, and it's got so many great people in it. It's a great cast. It's highly worth your time. But, yeah, he sat down with Alden, and he did a Star Wars interview. And I got to see the whole thing. It's fantastic. I'm just
I can't wait
teasing it out there. Alden did such a great job. I'm so proud of the work that he did. And, again, he did it on behalf of Podathon, which is fantastic. So Other folks are working on their guests. We've had messages flying back and forth even just today as folks are locking some people down. I don't know how much I can give away. I don't know if y'all are able to announce yet what y'all have got going on.
Well, all right. Let me start off by just saying that we're donating the entire comics run of Charles Soule's Crimson Reign series, the second part of his Crimson Dawn trilogy, as part of this. Also, Geek John Toys and Collectibles. We've got a little Star Wars pack that we're going to be giving out as a thing as well. But to keep on theme with the comics we're giving out, it's round 2.
Yeah, it is.
It's round 2 with Charles Soule.
Charles Soule coming back for round 2 with the Bro Axiom boys. I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see what new teases you can draw out of him.
And hopefully we can do that again, because I know that he said he would drop a teaser, like if we reached a particular goal. So hopefully we can do that again and help get those numbers up.
That's right. Bump it up. So yes, that's fantastic. Like I said, I know we've got some other folks that are in the process working furiously with confirming their guests. We're working on ads. You brought up a good point about the comic books and the Geek John collectibles. We're going to have raffles again this year. Last year we had a bunch of amazing partners and people who donated stuff to be raffled off. Pete put a tweet out, I think earlier today. We've got from Regal Robot, they're donating the plaque that was a Celebration exclusive, the Blue Harvest plaque. They're donating one of those. There's an artist on Instagram called Planetecture, and he does these really amazing, like modernist planetary architecture art prints. He's donated 6 of those prints for us to give away. We've gotten book packages from DK Books, Del Rey, and Inside Editions. Becca from Tarkin Stop Shelf has been working with her contacts to get us books. We've got, I know I'm blanking on a bunch of other ones, but we've got awesome raffle prizes. So for every $5 anybody donates to the Make-A-Wish Foundation, that's good for 1 entry into all of our raffles. We've also done a thing where if you donate between now and the day of the event, you'll get double entry. So anybody that donates right now, if you donate $20, that's 4 entries, but really it's 8 entries. So go to thepotathon.com. You can find the link for information about the show, about that day. You can find the link for the Make-A-Wish link to donate. Tons and tons of cool stuff. I can't wait for more announcements to come out about guests. I know who my guest is going to be, but I don't want to announce it yet because we're still dancing around a recording time to get that interview in the can. So I don't want to jinx it, but I'm really excited about that. It's going to be a fantastic day. I'm really looking forward to spending 15 hours in my chair in my studio, all to benefit this good cause and to hang out with some of the best people I know.
Stretch a little bit, just while you're in a chair.
That's right. Stretch. We may have to invest in a stand-up desk situation by the time that day gets here. So that's going to be a ton of fun. Lots and lots of cool stuff happening. So can't wait for that. More of that coming soon. We're about to jump into the news, and then we're going to jump into kind of our main conversation tonight. But before we do, I would be remiss if I don't raise my glass to everybody in the chat, everybody hanging out, to you, my friend and fantastic Weird Space friend co-host. Cheers to everybody. Happy Fridays. Happy Star Wars. That is perfectly fine. So, Chris, let's do this. We do have some news this week, so I'm going to do the news. And after we get done with the news, we will jump into our main conversation for the night.
Sounds good.
John Boyega talks Moses Ingram. The captain wants a return, and Diego Luna talks representation in Star Wars. Give us 5 minutes, and we'll give you the galaxy. Another week, another flood of news, rumors, clickbait, and conversation. I am Nick Milkey, and welcome to Disturbances in the Force. All the links to the original sources can be found in the notes, and I encourage you to check them out. A new article in the September issue of Men's Health dropped online this week, featuring actor John Boyega and focusing on the current state of his career. But it also delves into his past time in Star Wars, as well as his feelings on current issues as related to Obi-Wan Kenobi star Moses Ingram's recent encounters. When asked if he, Boyega, was similarly warned as Ingram was during his time in Star Wars, the actor responded, quote, "Hell no." He said, "I am the one who brought this to the freaking forefront." He says he was blindsided by the racist vitriol hurled at him, and at times it made him question if he even wanted to be a part of the sci-fi juggernaut. Boyega has consistently voiced his frustrations about how his character was underdeveloped and ultimately marginalized. He remains vocal about feeling unsupported in those days, which he hopes has compelled execs to become more accountable to actors of color. He said, quote, "At least the people going into it now, after my time, they're cool," he says. "Lucasfilm is going to make sure you're well supported, and at least you now go through this franchise knowing that everybody is going to have your back. I'm glad that I talked out everything at that time," end quote. In a tweet posted Thursday this week in Empire Magazine, a reveal that Irish actress Fiona Shaw will be playing Cassian Andor's adopted mother in the upcoming Disney Plus series Andor. It had previously been known that Shaw's character would be named Marva, but this new reveal may give viewers more insight into where Cassian will be when the series starts. The early episodes and the plot may reveal the loss of Cassian's birth parents and his adoption by Marva, as well as her journey raising him into adulthood. Shaw also made news earlier this week in the same Empire article when she stated, quote, that she was impressed by Tony Gilroy's social realist intentions. "He's created a whole new morality. It's very deep and humane," she said. "There is grief, mourning, hope, and fear. It's not just primary colors here," end quote. She continued by saying, "Tony has written a great and scurrilous take on the Trumpian world." She continued saying, "Our world is exploding in different places right now. People's rights are disappearing, and Andor reflects that. In the show, the Empire is taking over, and it feels like the same thing is happening in reality too." The first 3 episodes of Andor debut on Disney Plus on September 21st. Speaking also with Empire Magazine this week, ahead of the release of her upcoming movie Flux Gourmet, actress Gwendolyn Christie expressed enthusiasm for returning to play Captain Phasma if the opportunity ever arose, or if a direct adaptation of the comic books was ever to happen. Responding, Christie said, quote, "I haven't read the comics, but I mean, it's Star Wars. I would absolutely love that." She continued by saying, if there was a template for a character that people got really excited about, it would be smashing if they felt it was worthwhile to explore, along with some fabulous action, end quote. When it was pointed out to the actress that for now, fans of Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga could play the video game as Phasma, she said, quote, "This is the next step for me," she jokes, "because as a teenager, I was quite obsessed with computer games and I was quite good at them. I think it's time to revisit them because they could be everything I had initially wanted them to be. There are entire worlds out there where we can investigate our megalomania," end quote. Christie is currently starring in the upcoming movie Flux Gourmet, which is scheduled to release on September 30th, 2022. And finally this week, actor and star of upcoming Disney Plus series Diego Luna was a guest on ABC's The View earlier this week and sat down with host Whoopi Goldberg to discuss a variety of topics. When speaking about the Andor series and Disney's decision to release the first 3 episodes altogether, Luna said, quote, "Well, the idea was to bring you the most we could all at once, and Disney Plus doesn't do that often. So we're going to deliver 3 episodes on the 21st, which is great because it's a standalone. It's a series that it is its own, We need a good chance to introduce all the characters, the planets, the vibe, the tone of the show, and it's going to be great. You're going to be able to watch. It's like 3 episodes. It's almost 2 hours," end quote. So based on this small bit of information, we can guess that with the first 3 episodes being 2 hours, they will each be between 35 and 40 minutes each, which is about on par for shows like The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett. Also during the interview, Luna was asked about the importance of having an actor of Mexican heritage with a strong accent starring in his own series in a world like Star Wars, to which the actor responded, quote, "The accent is just a baby step, and I mean, finally the industry is reflecting on the world that's out there. Because that complexity, that diversity is out there, and that's the world we live in, and I feel really lucky to live in a time when we can have this exchange every day of my life. The story should reflect that, and it's happening. It's happening, and it's a good time to be doing this," end quote. Well, that wraps it up for this week's Disturbances in the Force. Make sure to check out the ATG Cast podcast stream for weekly one-on-one interviews with the people behind the fandom. This Thursday, Podcast of the Wills will air a best of episode with actress and stuntwoman Lauren Mary Kim. Please subscribe for regular updates. Follow us on all your social media channels at ATG Cast and visit our website at atgcast.com to keep up with us, find our merch, and get information about supporting the show as an ATG patron. Also, be sure to check out thepodathon.com for details about our charity event coming up Saturday, September 17th to benefit the Make-A-Wish Foundation. This year, Podathon will be headlined by writer and director of The Last Jedi, Mr. Rian Johnson. Thanks for listening, and may the Force be with you. So close. So close.
Yeah, bro. Dude, it took when it Force Awakens come out. How long ago was that? 7 years?
Yes.
Yep. 7
2015.
years. 7 years. And I've been feeling that way that Boyega's felt since I saw the movie the first time. Like so I'm glad that it's, that he's at least saying something and other people are seeing it. And yeah, he was sort of of course Billy D was the first, but he's sort of the pioneer with that kind of vitriol and backlash that's come from playing this character, or playing any character. It doesn't matter. He's got dark skin, so that he's already, that's already, but yeah, I'm glad that that's happening. The stuff with Diego Luna with having his natural accent in there, like why not? Why
Absolutely.
not? There's British accents. Why can't there be, Mexican accents? And why not?
It goes into that thing, and I know you and I have had these conversations offline. I have heard you speak, wonderfully, obviously, as a black man yourself, and seeing these issues in Star Wars and seeing, the way the world is. Certainly, we talk all the time. Star Wars is an entire galaxy.
Yeah.
It is nothing but diversity. It is nothing but a million different people that look a million different ways and act and speak and sound and all reflect that.
Yeah.
And, sure, Star Wars was written in 1975 and it was made in 76 and came out in 77. There's one woman in that movie, and it's Princess Leia. And George Lucas didn't want her to wear a bra. And, there are a lot of things related to the time that this was made in.
Yeah.
There wasn't, we don't get Lando until Empire.
Yeah, there was not one black person in
that's right.
Like,
there,
not one.
There wasn't. Yeah, it's not.
Not even the special editions.
So certainly there's a product of the time that it happens. But as we see it fast forward, and of course the issues, John Boyega brought attention to, and as the sequel trilogy went on, and it's so interesting to see. I appreciate the role that he seems to have taken on more recently of, he wants it to be better. It feels like, of course he's going to be personally angry because he should be because of what he went through, but it feels like he's not holding on to it. It feels like he's taking that ownership of role of saying, I'm glad that what happened if it helps somebody else now, if it helps Moses, if it helps whoever it is that is encountering these issues and dealing with it now. He seems to feel more confident just based on what he said in that article that, at least Disney is being more proactive, at least Disney. And I think that's the other thing that we talk about a lot too. There's a Disney component and there's a Lucasfilm component. And I think Lucasfilm has always been better at this, but Lucasfilm still lives in Disney's house. Yeah. So it creates this weird, competing synergy of some sort. And I think honestly, what we've seen in the last year, we've seen it with the LGBTQ plus representation, with things like Moses and Obi-Wan. I think Lucasfilm is taking more control and ownership of these decisions and they're doing and saying, this is who we are. And yeah, Disney owns this, but Star Wars is going to be more Lucasfilm. And that does go back to some of the original nature of what George Lucas did. Fiona Shaw making the comments about the political nature of this series. And of course we saw the people losing their mind this week. Star Wars has been political from day one. What are we talking about here? I don't understand.
And what she said about this Andor series was what I was feeling heavily about Rogue One. So much so that it hit so close to home where I love that movie. That's like in my top 3. If I had to do that whole ranking thing, it's in my top 3. But it hits Rogue One to me hit so close to home we're not too far from this. Where I couldn't watch the movie for a bit because it was just too right there. It was too almost like right outside my window kind of thing. So I'm so looking forward to Andor, but I'm so very apprehensive about what kind of how close to home it's going to hit.
Oh, no doubt. And let's do that. Let's jump into that trailer. We got a new full trailer on Monday on Good Morning America. Diego was on. What were the things that stood out for you? Kind of take us through what your thoughts were.
I have to watch it again because I only watched it when it dropped. I'm trying to think what was in there that I saw. Oh well, seeing Saw Gerrera in these different stages. Like, when I think back to Clone Wars and Bad Batch and Rebels and where he was at in Rogue One, I hope we get more of his, like, where he's at. And
it's the fascinating. He's a very fascinating character to me because I don't like my first real awareness of Saw that I paid attention to was Rogue One. I knew he was in some of the animated stuff, and I knew, had he shown up in Rebels before Rogue One, or was that after?
After.
I think it was after. So I was into Rebels at that point. So I was like, oh yeah, there's the guy from Rogue One or whatever. And I knew he was an existing character, but it just, like my relationship to Clone Wars and that kind of thing, it was less solid and cemented. So to see him in Rogue One, then to get the Rebels version, to see the Clone Wars version, like you said, you're getting this one character in all these different stages of his life. And I really love, and to come back to my unabashed love of Rebels, the episode where he and Mon Mothma go at it in Rebels, and he's the big hologram projection and she comes out. It's so good, which excites me for, obviously I'm excited to see what his role is, but I'm so excited about Mon Mothma in this series. Like, that little clip where she says, if they think that I'm goofing around here, maybe they're not paying attention to, what I'm really doing or whatever. Like, speaking of people who've been in it since they were 6 years old, that's a character in a story. I'm excited for her story the same way I wanted more Uncle Owen in the Kenobi series. And we got a tiny bit of that, not as much as I kind of hoped we would get, just because I thought there was a lot there to play Obi-Wan versus Uncle Owen, that deal, and you failed and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that part may have gotten a little repetitive because for me, I think it got like the right bit of like the Skywalkers and the Lars, because like there have been stories in the comics and all that kind of stuff. So I've seen it. So I'm glad that it got it continued, but they didn't rapid fire it throughout the whole series. Because I mean, we would wind up like not liking him, I think.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, and Raven has a good point. She says, I'm excited to see all the stuff going on in the background, not just in the middle of the desert, but cities and stuff. Like, we're going to get Coruscant shots because there's some great Imperial Senate footage and what's going on in the city, because we are sowing, as Saw says in the trailer, he says, I'd call it war. Like, we're sowing the undergirding seeds of the rebellion, which is war.
Yeah. And
it's going to take us, obviously it's going to take us up to Rogue One. And I wanted to bring this back up. Brian said it a minute ago. I think this is backwards. He said it's 4 3-episode arcs showing 4 different years. Then season 2 is the single year directly before Rogue One. Is that right? I thought it was the opposite.
I think
I thought the first season was 5 years, 1 year, 5 years before. And then the second season was 3 year, like year 4, year 3, year 2, year 1. I thought it was swapped the other way that they talked about at that panel, but either way, there's going to be some 3-episode arcs for part of it. And I think that's the thing. Like, I don't think we're going to get a ton other than maybe some handfuls of flashbacks of like child Cassian. We're getting this footage of the kid sneaking into the thing and him doing the voiceover saying they don't even know they let me in, that kind of deal. That's right. Brian's going to go to the Google machine to find out for us. But either way, the backstory of this character, but the ancillary backstories that go with it. I will say the one thing I'm concerned about is Stellar Skateboard saying Cassian Andor instead of Cassian Andor. Because
what's his last name again?
Stellar Skateboard.
I think you're right.
Stellan Skarsgård. For anybody that listens to the podcast, How Did This Get Made? They did a movie that he was in one time, and as they were talking about it, they kept referring to him as Stellar Skateboard, and so much so that fans of their podcast went and kept changing it on his Wikipedia page till the point where they locked the page so people couldn't do it anymore. So that's a good How Did This Get Made deep cut. Stellar Skateboard is in the Cassian Andor series, not Andor. Andor. Yeah. But I love that actor.
Just like Marchion or Markion.
That's right.
Markion's correct.
Han and Han, baby.
Yeah.
The Falcon or the Falcon.
I have to train myself to say it both ways when I do my Lando for Blue Panther milk. So
that's right. You got to get it right because you are the definitive Lando.
I don't know. We saw the definitive Lando on that Lego in the Lego episode.
That's true, and that's fun. So we'll get to that in a minute. There was something else that I thought about with Cassian. I'm blanking on what it was now. Oh, so the release date. Okay, Brian says the wiki says season 1 equals 5 years.
Okay.
So then the second season will be that lead up.
And that's 18 episodes. So they got time. Ooh, yeah, they got time.
It's 12. It's 2 sets of 12.
It's 12
episodes. 12 and 12. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was 18. Either way, that's awesome. Yeah.
12 and 12. But the release, that was the other big news that came out Monday. We got that trailer, and then we got the announcement that instead of it dropping 2 episodes on August 31st, they're going to drop 3 episodes on, I think, September 21st. So we get a 3-week pushback. That can cover a number of things, not the least of which is House of the Dragon and Lord of the Rings. Like, all these things are coming out at once.
Yeah.
Disney may be just looking for some breathing room, looking for the chance to say, we want people to see this too, pay attention to this. I like it from a story standpoint because, first of all, if you gave me all of it, I'd watch all of it. Like, I'm not going to be self-controlled. I'm not going to go, well, I'll just parcel it out once a week. No, I'm going to watch it. So if you give us the first 3, what that allows you to do is exactly what Diego Luna said in that interview. We really get a good setup to the story. We really get, 3 episodes could be, it is a quarter of the season to really establish the characters, really establish what's going on here. And from a narrative standpoint, I think that has the potential to be an advantage.
Yeah, I agree. Because it worked very well, I think, for Obi-Wan. Getting those first 2 episodes, really getting the lay of the land and what this show is going to be about. So I totally agree.
Yeah, it's just good stuff, and it's so. I don't know. I was excited. I'm excited that there's so much on location shooting. They've talked about that a lot. There's little to no volume in this. They've kind of made a deal of saying, yeah, it's great, but we went places and we went and shot, and you can feel it. It's a very cinematic trailer that we got that dropped on Monday. It didn't. And the volume is a great tool.
Love the volume.
I think, I do too. And I think that it becomes an interesting thing because, of course, I do find myself playing the game. Like when I watched Book of Boba Fett or when I watched Obi-Wan, I find myself going, I can see it right there. You get to those moments where you can kind of feel where they are and what's happening.
Yeah, I think I didn't notice any of it in Mando until it was said, until it was shown. I'm like, okay, yeah.
You start to know what to look for as you get used to it. So early on, it was new and just, holy crap, look at this thing.
Yeah.
As you learn how it works, you start to go, okay, now I see where the edges are now. But that's fine because it's still, and they're going to continue to develop it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's going to,
So I have nothing to complain about when it comes to volume versus on-set location shooting either way. Well, let's talk Lego Summer Vacation. Lego Summer Vacation dropped this morning. And as you mentioned, some outstanding voiced casting. The Billy D. Williams himself reprising his role as Lando. Some great... The host with the most of the Halcyon Star Cruiser in his role. We got Weird Al in it.
I didn't feel slighted that he got the role over me. It's cool.
If somebody's going to get it over you, it really does feel like it needs to be Billy.
It should be him.
Yeah. Number 2 on the list is Chris Ryons, but after that, goes way down.
Yeah.
We have Weird Al is in this, has a song and a kind of funny little moment on the stage. I was excited to hear Yvette Nicole Brown in as Valeria. I forget what the part of her name was.
And she's a reoccurring character from the Freemakers. Yeah,
that's right. I heard that today. She was actually on she was on Pink Milk with Brian. He did an interview with her. Dropped yesterday or today.
I think it was today.
Yeah, I think it was this morning. So it's a fun little interview, and I've been a fan of hers for a long time. I love her, and she's such a good. She's a nerd. She admits it herself.
Absolutely.
She's a nerd. And she hosted that panel at Celebration and did such a good job. And you could tell how excited she was to be there. Yeah. So I'm excited to hear her. Shelby Young is in it again. Who else is in there from a voice standpoint that I'm not thinking about?
James Arnold Taylor. That's his?
Oh yeah, Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan. And Matt Lanter was there,
Mm-hmm.
for Anakin.
Yes.
I don't know who they got to play Finn, but he was good.
It was. I'm about to tell you. I'm looking it up. We had the guy that did Luke Skywalker was really good. Like I sat up in my chair a little bit and wait. Who's that?
I was like, is that
Finn? Oh, Finn was Omar Benson Miller from 8 Mile, and he was in one of my favorite episodes of The West Wing. I know exactly who that is. That's fun. I didn't know he did that. Matt Wood did Ben Solo. Ross Marquand did Han. Oh, this was the other one that I thought was fun. Paul F. Tompkins as Rad, the friend that was giving him a hard time.
Oh, the jerk.
Ben wanted to fly the Falcon, the jerk friend. Paul F. Tompkins is one of my favorite comedians. Lieutenant Dangle from Reno 911. So yeah, fun voice cast, fun little show, and that's what Lego Star Wars has been. You mentioned something when we were texting earlier today that I wanted you to get into about how the story kind of goes and what it did. Talk about that.
From watching the show, when Finn said they all have to, spoilers for anyone who hasn't watched it, sorry, but when Finn says like this is their last vacation before they all go their separate ways to do their thing, Finn says like Rey is going to find Jedi Those Michael Bay Transformers movies sucked. I'm sorry. That's between me and that. Rey's going off to find the Jedi temples. Poe was going off to train X-Wing pilots, and Finn is going off to find other Force sensitives. I think that's amazing. That's a great start if you want to do something post TROS. And the fact that they're having him as a Finn is going to be a I know that's a High Republic term, but like a seeker, going out there and looking, or High Republic, but going out there looking for other Force sensitives. I think that's fantastic. And there's so many more stories you can do with that. Hopefully, they're teasing that in this Lego thing to show like what they're going to do in canon proper. I hope that something like that happens.
Yeah, I do too, and I think that it really is. It's a great transition, and it's a great way to set up something, because I know, and we've talked about this, essentially Lego Star Wars is in a weird limbo between Legends and canon, it feels like. Like, I don't know how it's technically classified. I know it's not considered technically canon, but it's like canon adjacent almost.
Yeah, it's its own. Yeah, I just did the Legoverse or whatever they want to call it.
Yeah, that's right. And that's fun. Yeah. And I like that we have that, because it also does some things like any of the hints or indications that Finn is Force sensitive, other than the slightest of teases, of course, that we get in Rise of Skywalker, are actually fleshed out in the Lego Holiday Special.
Thank you, Lego.
And yeah, so Lego again, getting it done, carrying the water for everybody else.
Yeah.
And so I love that we get that. I love that we get the continuation of that. And like you said, that's that thing that he's doing now. Is he even says, looking for other Force sensitive kids like me. There's no, they're not shooing around on it this time. Like no, they put it out there and they said it.
I love it.
And I love
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and I love the way they did that with everybody. Rey training the people that Finn finds, or Jedi in general, but also Poe and a new generation of X-Wing pilots. And of course, in my mind, I'm going, not Rangers. What's the Patty Jenkins one?
Rogue
Squadron. Yeah, like again, little trails, little things that even if they're not super intentional, point in those directions and point towards, again, a continuation of story points, because everything that we're getting in this bountiful Star Wars goodness that we keep getting right now, none of it ultimately is post-sequel trilogy except for Lego Star Wars. Everything is in a different timeline. Everything is farther back, or High Republic, or post OT, which we're excited about with Mando and Ahsoka and all that stuff. But this is the thing for the moment that is showing us what is possible for a post-sequel trilogy, something. To go back to John Boyega, he has also said relatively recently he does want to come back and do something else and get into a more proper Finn story. And I hope he gets the chance. I hope with every fiber of my being, he gets that chance. But this is the place that is kind of a jumping off point. How can they, find some ways to go? I will say, of the ones they've done recently, the Halloween one, the holiday special, this one has been my favorite. I really like this one a lot. It just, I didn't come in expecting to dislike it. I was at work. I was, had it on in the background while I was working on, some desk stuff this morning, emails and whatnot. And I caught myself a couple of times going, I really like this. Like, it's just, and I always like them. They're fun. I love the cheeky humor. I love, it's that Lego humor that just hits in a different way because it's silly, but you also are like, it's real smart.
Yeah. I hope, I'm always intrigued to see more post Rise of Skywalker. The other thing that went post was in the comics, so I guess that makes it canon, which was Charles Soule's Star Wars number 25 that came out like a week or two ago, and it was a funeral for why am I blanking? Snap Wexley.
Okay,
it was a funeral for him, so all of Black Squadron, the remaining members of Black Squadron were there, and I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, I hope that we get more stories, because I mean there are characters that were from novels, and I'm pointing to my bookshelf. There are characters from the novels that were in the sequel trilogy era that I'd love to see link up, like especially with Finn, this character named Karnak Sun from Force Collector.
Okay,
and he's got Force psychometry. So like, of course, anything he touches, he can, if there's a ripple in the Force in that thing, he can.
Is that the Cal thing from Fallen Order?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So like, he's already got a ton of information, and I think it would be great if they were to link up. I know you're not really a High Republic person, but I'd love to see some kind of resurgence of the Nihil in the in the post sequel trilogy era. That'd be great.
And I think that'd be a neat way for them to do that, like a sleeper, decades, centuries old, sleeper waiting their time, biting. That's very Star Wars. That's that very, Palpatine-esque, maybe even inspired by Palpatine, maybe even, we've studied, these not sleeper cell, that's very terrorism, but, these underground, deep cover, centuries old sect of the Nihil, maybe they became adherents or worshipers of, Palpatine, and somehow that influenced their desire to do what they do. Are they dark side users? Again, I haven't read it. So,
no,
or are they
no,
just
they're
crazy
just
space pirates?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and they want to do things their own way. They don't want to be imposed on by the Republic or anyone else. So I think they probably even have a problem with the Empire as well. So
right.
Yeah,
Scotty. We are messed up, if that's what you're referring to, because I can't get any of the tech right tonight. So
it's all my fault.
Chris, I'm so nervous with the real Billy D, secondary Billy D on with me tonight. My number one in your hearts, number two in your programs, Chris Ryons, the Lando Calrissian. So let me ask you this. Talking about Star Wars, Lego Star Wars, again, Freemaker Adventures, that's another one that I am not well versed in, but every person I know that loves Freemaker, really loves Freemaker Adventures. Yeah. Greg Iwinski, who's been on with us, who we hung out with at Celebration, that's his jam. And he's like, it's some of the best, talk a little bit about Freemaker, but then what I want to do is kind of start to connect the transition between. And here's talk about Freemaker, and then I'll set up my other point.
Sure. It's a story of these siblings who find their way throughout the entire Star Wars, the OT. In some way in the background, they're doing their thing and having their adventures, one of the youngest one is Force sensitive. And he's looking for what is called the Kyber Saber, which is very dangerous. And of course, Emperor Palpatine wants it. And this Palpatine is, I love Lego Palpatine. He's burns on cocaine, if that makes any sense.
Well, honestly, he's another he's in the same neighborhood as Robot Chicken Palpatine.
Yes.
Like there's a good 1-to-1 that meets up there that makes me really happy.
Yeah. And what else about the Freemakers? It is a it's a really fun show. Just sit back and just relax and enjoy it. Don't think about, oh, this doesn't match up with this. Stop all that. Just watch it and just enjoy some good lighthearted Star Wars. It's amazing. One of the last times I was on Father and Son podcast with Keith and Kerwin Yard, I think Dan or myself had mentioned the Freemakers, and Keith, the son, just lit up because he like loved that. Like he's such a huge like Lego Star Wars fan, and that show. Like after watching that show, I was like, there's got to be a way to bring the Freemakers into canon proper. Like there's got to be the way. There's got to be a way.
Right.
So if they were in the background like that, that'd be fantastic. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing. It's so. Here's what I love about Lego Star Wars. Lego Star Wars for me is fun. It also hits on kind of the same notes as like Pixar stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's animation. It's definitely for kids, but that adult humor is all kind of laced up in there. But with the Star Wars element, the Star Wars vibe. So what I attempted to posit my thesis as for tonight, which it turns out I was really wrong about as I researched it, was we have Clone Wars, we have Bad Batch, we have Rebels. Those are also animation. Mm-hmm. Those are cartoons, if you will. But those are still, and Dave Filoni himself said this on stage at Star Wars Celebration. He was like, don't be fooled. It's not just for kid. We cut people's heads off in the Clone Wars. Like,
yes,
there's some grown up themes. Bad Batch gets heavy. It gets into, even Rebels, the later seasons of Rebels. Again, some of my favorite storytelling. So what I was trying to compare it to was, so is Lego Star Wars kind of along the lines of the more quote unquote little kid Star Wars, which is what we grew up with. Droids, Ewoks, those animated series, maybe, but really not really Resistance. Just because I haven't watched Resistance, I'm not trying to crap on it.
No, because that got heavy too.
Right. And so I was trying to draw a comparison between Lego Star Wars and the ones we grew up with that were very clearly kiddie oriented. Like those weren't written for my dad, who in 1980 or whatever was, 28, 29 years old, who loved Star Wars, but was like, yeah, I'm going to watch this cartoon. Like that wasn't for him. That was for me as a 4-year-old.
Yeah. I from those two shows, I didn't watch much of Ewoks. Even I think I was 10 when it came out, and I was like, no, this is but Droids, I love Droids. I love that cartoon.
I pulled up a couple episodes throughout the course of this week as I had a chance on Disney Plus, at night. Both shows. You're right. Ewoks for me doesn't hold up. Like it's just out there. Droids was a little bit awkward, but it was also like, first of all, it was a chance for Anthony Daniels, like straight up, like, hey man, here's some more work. Here's something else you can do.
Yeah.
I will say the highlight for me of the Droids series is the theme song, which, as we all know, is Stuart Copeland from The Police. So good. Even now, I'm like, I need that on a playlist somewhere. It needs to be in my life more than it is.
It's on my cell phone.
Of course it is.
I love that song.
Of course it is. So ultimately, what I'm bringing this conversation is Lego Star Wars doesn't compare to Droids and Ewoks, because those were one-offs. Those were, those were very specific to the time, the era that those were created. It was what it was. Star Wars, Lego Star Wars is on a different level. I love that, which I want to come back to one thing because I was doing some research. Droids, maybe Droids and Ewoks, but Droids, one of the main writers of Droids was Paul Dini.
Yep.
And Paul Dini wrote one of my favorite animated things ever, Batman the Animated Series.
Yes, he did.
And I never knew that. I never made that connection until this week. And I just went, that's legit. Like that's a thing. So that made me happy to see that.
He's also written. Did you watch He-Man as a kid?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He wrote a bunch of those too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never spent it. I mean, I've watched old He-Man and I've rewatched old He-Man, but for whatever reason, I've never paid attention to who the creators were, plugged into that. What I need to do is go back and watch the Toys That Made Us episode on Netflix about He-Man, because of course they dig into, I love that episode so much. We're just making people up so that we can put them in the show and, all that kind of stuff. So that'd be a good one to revisit. But yeah, definitely a big He-Man guy. So my thesis was wrong. There's really not a conversation there to compare Lego Star Wars to Droids and Ewoks, other than having something that's very accessible for a kid.
Yes.
Very fun.
Yeah.
And Lego is, all of the Star Wars animation is certainly accessible for kids, but Lego is like every age kid. Like you would put that on for a 2-year-old. You would put that on for a 3-year-old, and not have any worries. I wouldn't put on, Bad Batch for, somebody below maybe 5, because you're going, people shooting each other. Like, what's going on here? But
yeah. I mean, they did make it safe, whereas the Imperials were using blasts, like laser blasters, laser bolts. But the team, the Bad Batch team, their blasters were set to stun like the entire time.
Right.
So that because their body count would have been seriously high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
well, and I love that choice they made to do that, just as a means of like, these are our brothers. These are our, that was something that I thought was a mature storytelling point that would be lost on a lot of younger viewers, but people our age and people paying attention will be like, oh, like I see what there's a internal conflict there. Like I'm kind of shooting at myself. Am I going to kill myself, or am I going to, incapacitate and then try to get out of the situation?
Yeah.
So Lego Star Wars is a ton of fun. Everybody loves Lego Star Wars. Super great. I love the humor. I love the way that they tie it into, again, the Easter eggs, all the little things that you get, in the holiday special. You're talking about, they're making Tip Yip for the holiday special. And we're going, where have we seen that? Oh, yeah, Galaxy's Edge. Like, there's a corporate synergy there. That works,
absolutely, yes.
But it doesn't feel forced. It's not like, somebody rolling up on the screen going, this Coca-Cola sure is delicious, like in the middle of a movie, or every Avengers Audi commercial, or whatever it is.
It's very self-aware. Like the comedy and writing for it is very self-aware, and I like that a lot. It's self-aware to the point where it's not like there's nothing as far as like hate or malice, in any of the writing, with the self-awareness of anything, like pointing out anything on a like a super negative level or anything like that. I just love that it all comes from love. It's all fun.
Sure, absolutely. And that's, again, to come back to so many things we talk about all the time, Chris.
Yeah.
Star Wars is fun. Let's have fun with it. Let's move into that era of, I heard an interview this week where somebody just said, they're like, you know what? Like, I'm here for the fun. I'm here to hang out and have fun. I'm not going to get caught up in the nonsense and the bull crap and the whatever, because why do I need that in my life? I don't need that kind of negativity. I do want to tell everybody who's watching, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for being here tonight. I did just throw the link in the chat. I would love to see y'all, get y'all to come hang out with us and tell us what's clicking for you. We can talk about the Andor trailer. We can talk about Summer Vacation. We can talk about if you love the Droids cartoons and Stuart Copeland. If you say you didn't, we'll just kick you off, but that's fine. That's Chris and I's prerogative. Jump that link, jump in there, come see us. And while we're waiting for some of our friends to join us, what's going on in the world of comics right now, Chris? What are some things? I know y'all have got some new videos out.
What are some things?
Because I don't follow the comics. Give us a rundown since you're here.
Well, Dark Horse, the company that Star Wars built, is going to get some Star Wars comics back. Like most of the High Republic, like some of the High Republic books are going to be there. The Star Wars Adventures books that they had with IDW are all going to the Dark Horse. So you'll see the more, what would I say, young adult stories, or even kid-based stories.
Right.
Going to the Dark Horse comics. Crimson Reign, like I said before, just finished up a little bit ago. So in October, Hidden Empire, which is the final part in Charles Soule's Crimson Dawn trilogy, comes out, and I cannot wait for that. Bounty Hunters is continuing. The Halcyon Legacy, which is it's sort of like when there was a Galaxy's Edge comic series, like it was like 5 issues, and it was there to advertise for the Halcyon, for the Star Cruiser. But it was a cool story, a cool anthology of stories, and that just wrapped up. And that led into some characters from the Star Wars Bounty Hunters series that Ethan Sachs is doing. So we get to see some of these characters like Bosk and 4LOM and Zuckuss, and Tonga. These characters, see what happens to them. It's sort of a spoiler, and I'm sure Ethan Sachs wrote that and Bounty Hunters, so he knows what he's doing. That's awesome. So it's cool to see that. The 25th issue of Star Wars just dropped a couple weeks ago from Charles Soule, which is his 100th comic issue. So he put in this another anthology story, 2 stories that are back to back, very much linked. It was Anakin and Obi-Wan, and Anakin asked a question that I've had for years. Like, why did the Jedi just, with the Kyber crystals, why is there just a lightsaber? Why aren't there other Kyber-based weapons? And Obi-Wan explains that in such a fantastic way that I was like, Charles Soule just gets it. Like, he gets it. And then on the flip side of that story is another one. Like, that story was called The Lesson, and then the second story on the flip side was also called The Lesson, and that was Vader training with Palpatine, with Sidious.
Okay.
And him getting the same kind of lesson, just the very much like rage and brutal flip side of that. What are the comics are? Darth Vader from Greg Pak is out, and Dan's been doing the reviews on those, and those have been fantastic. The Obi-Wan series is really good. It's written by Christopher Cantwell. And like Obi-Wan's in his hovel, and he's trying to. There's a sandstorm coming, so he's got some time to reflect. So he's like writing things in his journal and going over like his past. There's a Han Solo and Chewbacca series that's also been out, and I think it's on its 4th issue. And the first bit of that was Han and Chewie having a team up with Greedo, which is pretty cool. And also there's someone who is claiming to be Han's father. Okay. In this as well.
Is this
so
the Oven?
Yeah,
that's it.
Oven.
Yeah.
And so we're not sure. We're not sure if that's his dad or not.
Is there a grift going on here?
Yeah. So we'll see.
That's right. And did you say that was Chris Cantwell?
Yeah, Christopher Cantwell.
How interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's the same. Is he the guy that wrote *Halt and Catch Fire*?
Well, Christopher Cantwell is doing the Obi-Wan series. Mark Guggenheim, who he was part of the Flash and the Arrow shows on the CW. He's doing the Obi-Wan series. And
well, there's a Christopher Cantwell that does TV stuff, and he did that show *Halt and Catch Fire*, which was like the Silicon Valley computer show.
The same person.
It might be the same person. There can't be a ton of those. But
he's also writing my new obsession. And I should end up being a guy who's worked at a comic shop for damn near 20 years. I should have been reading this series when it came out, but Paper Girls, and he is a writer on this show.
Oh, that's him.
Yeah,
that's it. Same guy. I just looked it up. Producer and writer known for *Halt and Catch Fire*, *Paper Girls*, and *Our Footloose* remake 2011. So that's
Footloose.
him. It's not that Footloose. It's something called *Our Footloose* remake.
Oh, okay.
It's like looks like an indie funky something else.
Oh, okay.
Well, Christopher, we have a friend who is going to join us right now.
Uh-oh.
And this friend is kind of the toast of Star Wars and Podathon at the moment.
That guy.
Pumped to welcome
Ryan Johnson,
our good friend Ryan Johnson.
Hey.
If you could get any closer to Ryan Johnson than Ryan Johnson himself, it would be this man, Mr. Alden Diaz.
Oh,
well. What's up, my friend?
What's going on, gentlemen? How are you?
Hey, Alden, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing okay.
Done anything fun this week, Alden?
Ric Flair's at it again.
Ric Flair. We could do an hour on Flair. I just can't.
This man wants to die in the ring. He wants.
How do you retire Well, first of all, he retired in 08, which we all remember.
Yeah.
And it was perfect.
Yes.
I don't ever want that in my life. Like, to ruin my own good ending is one of my greatest fears.
Twice.
And that's why, yeah, he had a
it
TNA
was a
match
bad
against
ending.
Sting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
He had a
I forgot
TNA
about
match against
that.
Sting.
Yeah.
So that's why I said this is the last match. This is the fourth one. So yeah, I mean, but yeah, so Flair's had a busy week. I've had a busy week. Yeah, the Ryan Johnson thing was really cool. That interview's done. So like that's in the past for me, but in the future for everybody else. So I've already moved on to the next sort of thing, some irons in the fire.
George Lucas?
No, not George Lucas. How do I'll Chris, I'll send you right now without saying it.
Okay.
On Twitter, who I'm working on and whose people I heard from today.
Okay.
Yes. I know this already. So
yeah.
I want
and
Chris
they
to
have
read
a
it
Star
on his
Wars
phone.
connection.
I want Chris
Yeah.
to read it on his phone and react on air without saying anything. We'll do that for
Exactly.
all the people watching. This is really we're gonna clip this part out before we put it in the pod feed on Monday, so that's fine.
Here we go.
But it's fun for us.
All right. This person is a possibility now.
So, as Chris gets that, there it is right there. Yep, there you go.
Legit. That's dope.
Alden, we're gonna come back. We're gonna circle back around to Ryan for a minute.
Yeah.
Let's do this. Our big things tonight have been Andor, summer vacation. I don't know if you had a chance to check that out yet or not.
Yep.
What's hitting your radar for Star Wars this week, other than the big deal you had on Monday?
Yeah, other than that, I've really been enjoying Princess and the Scoundrel.
Okay.
I still haven't finished it, but I've been really loving that in the same way that Shadow of the Sith and Filoni's Book of Boba Fett episode have really been like, if you love Return of the Jedi, like we're finally going to tell those post-Jedi stories. This cannot be more post-Jedi. The book starts with Leia looking at the helmets that the Ewoks were drumming on. Like,
wow.
It's like post Return of the Jedi, and she's looking at these helmets, and she's like, this is like literally page 1, page 2 stuff, and she's like, it's like a celebration, but also the people that wore these helmets would have killed me, but we also killed them, so I have to think about that, and that's what war is, and all this stuff. And you get like things that we've been waiting for since 83. Like if Han and Leia were going to get married and have a happy family, that didn't happen either. But if they were, theoretically, how does a wife tell her husband who her real father is? And that happens in the book. And so there's a lot of that, and it's really good. I have the audiobook of Padawan, but I haven't started it yet because I can't do 2 books at the same time.
Yeah.
That's weird. I could do comics. Like I can stop reading a book and read a comic, but I can't do 2 novels. I know people that do that, and I just can't. But yeah, I mean, the Andor trailer is amazing and like really, 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 really pretty, like really pretty. So that's exciting. I was in the waiting room and you guys were talking about Paper Girls. I remember when Paper Girls dropped the first issue, BKV and Chang, and I picked that book up, and I mean, you remember, Chris, you're in the comics world, like Brian K. Vaughan does anything and everyone like holds their breath. Like, this is gonna be the best thing ever. And it's really good. And
like the sales on that were like ridiculous. Like, when that book was coming out in the single issues, we were selling out. Everyone was looking for that book. That's probably one of the reasons why I never read it, because we couldn't really keep it on the shelves outside of like, the graphic novels.
And I kind of feel like because it is these paper girls, these 80s paper girls, that Stranger Things being a massive success kind of stole its thunder a little bit.
Yeah.
Like it couldn't catch the steam of something like Saga or anything else that BKV has done.
Yeah. Because
we all had this 80s thing on Netflix, but hopefully now, I mean, it takes off. We're super spoiled with TV. I mean, it's like too much to take in.
Well, no doubt. And that's what we were talking about earlier too, with the pushback of the Andor series and that, coming out in September and doing 3 episodes.
Yeah.
One of the things that we saw this week online at some point was we've got House of the Dragon, you've got Lord of the Rings, you've got Andor. Like Bad Batch is Bad Batch still supposed to be late September? I had seen something that it might be like the week after.
Yeah, it was supposed to be, I believe, September 28th, allegedly.
Right.
Like that was like an international Disney Plus
Yes.
graphic.
Yeah. Not cemented, but floating out there in the ether.
Right. And so we've sort of, I mean, I cover now on a channel with Ken Knapsack the Ex Machina. That's right. Wow. That takes it back. But yeah, the whole idea of having to cover, like I do Ken Knapsack, we do Lord of the Rings, and we do Game of Thrones, so we're gonna have both of those. I'm sad that I won't have Andor in a matter of weeks or days, but I'm also okay with it having its own time. I'm super glad that Disney finally realized there are 7 days in the week, and that Andor is going to be Wednesdays and She-Hulk's going to be Thursdays.
Oh, is that going to be the case? Okay, I didn't know that.
She-Hulk got announced for Thursday. That was just a couple days ago that they said Thursday.
I missed it.
That's good.
So, because I was like, if I had to look at one more article or tweet about how Ms. Marvel wasn't performing, I was going to stab myself in the eye. You put a new character with no supporting Avengers, no anyone outside of mentions of Carol. There was no it's not like Spider-Man Homecoming where Downey was in it. You put her up against one of the biggest characters in the history of cinema. And the most anticipated thing that has ever been since they bought the company. That was not fair. So
no doubt. And I went back to, I think it was it partway through Loki when Loki was on Wednesdays and Bad Batch was on Fridays? Is that when that was happening? That was ideal, especially as somebody who loves both properties. I loved having the ability to go, all right, Wednesday I get a Marvel thing, Friday I get a Star Wars thing. I know why they jump on Fridays, because they want people to go to the movies and all that kind of stuff. But I do appreciate, even if it's Wednesday, Thursday, spread it out a little bit, give us a day to breathe. Don't make me go to work on Wednesday morning early and feel like I've got 4 things I need to watch before Twitter ruins all of it for me.
I would forget that Miss Marvel was coming on because I would be so blown away by an Obi-Wan episode.
Oh yeah.
And then it'd be like, oh, Miss Marvel's out too. Let me watch a little bit of that. But I'm thinking about the Obi-Wan episode while I'm watching Miss Marvel.
Especially because you're making stuff about it. You're also going to do Braxium. You're going to do, ATG. You're going to do Wills. Your Octo Radio, whatever it is.
Right.
We just end up in this mode of it's kind of that's why I turn my phone over when I start a Star Wars thing. I try to have zero noise of distractions because I want to watch Star Wars like I did before I had a show. I hate the feeling of watching it and you see something and you're like, that's going to be a conversation. Or people are going to get upset. I hate that. You can't get rid of it, but I hate it.
My version of that is waking up on those mornings, if it's a Wednesday when there's Boba, Kenobi, Mando, whatever. I've got the group text that I'm in with Scotty and Pete and Jerry. And Pete's on Eastern time. And Jerry's on Eastern time. So I wake up and I go, don't look at your phone because one of these assholes have watched it already. and they know better than to spoil it and say something, but there's still that moment where I'm like, I don't even need to hear the holy crap, it was so good, or I'm just kind of meh about it. I want to come into it on my own. I want to come into it. So on those mornings, it's wake up, take a shower, literally don't look at your phone until an hour after I get to work. And I've gotten my first start the day viewing at my desk with coffee and emails and whatever it is that I'm doing. But unless those rare occasions where I actually stay up, but I'm too old for that crap.
Yeah, I can do that if I feel like it's in a warranted thing. I'll do that for Star Wars. About it. Yeah, I did it for Kenobi a few times. Kenobi was different because we'd already seen 2 of them, and then 3, I think I stayed up. 4 and 5, I think I just woke up. I set an alarm, but that finale, I was up.
Brian is not calling out any of us specifically, but
was it Dan? Was it Dan?
It was Dan. We're just gonna go ahead and say it was Dan.
Drop it in the comments, man. Don't be afraid.
That's right.
Just shade
F in the chat for Dan.
It was Dan.
Poor Dan.
Well, Alden, let's talk about Ryan for a minute before we get you out of here, because you did have an amazing Monday. You have been so awesome to land this guest, to headline Podathon. We talked about Podathon at the top of the show. We will continue to talk about Podathon, for the coming weeks. obviously you don't want to spoil the interview. You don't want he said it's not anybody on the screen, Chris.
No
It's
one on
not
the screen.
us.
Oh, so it's Dan.
Yeah,
It's Dan.
it's Dan. It's totally Dan.
For sure.
He will neither confirm nor deny. Let's do this, Alden. Let's talk about the periphery of this experience you had connecting with Ryan, getting, this confirmation. I know because of course we've been talking a bunch lately.
Yeah.
You've talked about how quick a process it has been, how easy it has been, but also like, all of us working on Podathon and hosting shows and getting guests, like we're taking big swings. We want to use the fact that we're doing it for charity to hopefully, appeal to the good-natured, folks that are out there working in Hollywood to say, yeah, I'll do that for charity. I may not go on Podcast of the Wheels just on a regular Tuesday, but I'd do it for Make-A-Wish. I'd do it for whatever. So you took some big swings, and I love that the day that we found out that this is who you landed, you named off like 7 people, and you're like, that's not the big one. And I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? Because you just named off like the entire cast of a whole movie. And,
I love the drama.
So tell us, kind of give us the periphery of this experience and what it has done and meant for you.
Yeah. I mean, professionally, it's the highlight of my career because a lot of people that listen to my stuff probably realize either eventually or they put 2 and 2 together and realize that I also do this like professionally. And so I've worked for the radio industry, specifically iHeart, for the past 4 years. Sure. And I've done different freelancing and different voice stuff and things like that. And I've been very fortunate. I mean, my first job in radio was as an assistant producer on a classic rock morning show that's been around for 30 years. That, I've spoken to members of Pink Floyd. I've spoken to a surviving Beatle, one of the 2 Beatles that we have left. I've spoken to Paul Stanley, and not the Scotty version. The real one. And so
that's not the real one.
Don't tell him that. And yeah, I've been very fortunate, like comedians, you name it. But in terms of like my side of things, I've had my run-ins. I was, one of my earliest Octo Radio episodes, but it's so early that I didn't really have a listenership at the time. I sort of like hit a milestone before there was anyone to hear it. Was Naomi Aki when Rise was coming out. Like amazing. And exactly. Like people like either like friends of mine don't even know that it happened because it's
I will be going back to download that tonight. So
yeah, it's like, and it's short. Like it was, she was in the radio station and I negotiated my way into getting like 20 minutes with her.
Sure.
And yeah, I mean, that was like a Skywalker saga actor, but for it to come all the way around on my terms with my questions with all caps, such a dad.
What?
My terms, my questions, my schedule, and for the right cause. I mean, like you said, that's what unifies people. And it's like,
sure,
that's it. I knew that if I was going to be a part of this, I wanted it to be something that would drive a lot of money for it, because I'm not just going to like, not going to half-ass for sick children. It puts it in brass tacks, but like that's why it takes so much work from you organizers, and that's why it takes so much work on a PR side and everything. But yeah, I mean, so professionally, extremely gratifying. Personally, extremely moving and weird. It's the first time that I've watched it now twice, and both times it doesn't feel like that's me. It felt very like out of body. Where most of the time, like if I go back and watch or listen to any episode of my show, I'm like, I either remember what I'm about to say because I did it, or I can hear all the mistakes or anything. But with this one, I watched it and it's just like 2 people that I don't have anything to do with. It's really surreal, very moving and easy, like you said. It took like 48 hours from asking to let's roll, and then it was how much time do you want or need? And I said 45 minutes to an hour. We went an hour 15. Sure. And then it will, send us your questions and we'll let you know if they're good. 0 notes on the questions. You can't ask about this. You can't. Rise of Skywalker comes up. Working with Mark comes up. The Mandalorian, Grogu. We talk about Obi-Wan Kenobi. We talk about tons of stuff. Knives Out. So you've seen it.
Well, and I was going to say, I want to say this.
I haven't.
I'll send you the link.
That's right. I want to say this, and I texted these to you individually Monday night or whenever it was after I got done watching it. It's such a good interview, and it's one thing, and we all do this, all three of us on the screen. We interview people. It's a part of our deal. We have moments. I'm very critical of myself. I go back and listen to things and I go, I can't believe I did that. I hate it, but I do it because I want to be better. The first thing you did right away, and you said it just even sending the questions, like he was at ease from the beginning. There was no worry of, is this going to be a gotcha? There's no worry of, like, he came on and he talked about Star Wars because guess what? Rian Johnson loves Star Wars, and Rian Johnson knows Star Wars.
Yes. And that's a big thing is that, like, I don't mean to cut you off, but
no, you're good.
I really do think that theoretically, I don't mean a crazed Last Jedi hater, but I think that a normal person who's like, I just didn't really like episode 8. I think that type of person could watch this and be like, you know what? I like it a little more.
Bring them around. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Either bring them around or like they'll see Ryan as their fellow fan.
Correct.
Because that's how it comes off.
They'll see it as, it may not still be my thing, but I see where he's coming from. I see where his passion
and I would
lies.
love to like hang out with him at Star Wars Celebration.
And that's the thing. So genuine, so nice. And so that was the other thing that I wanted to say was you did such a good job of conducting that interview, asking such good questions. And one of the things Pete and I talk about all the time, ask the question and get out of the way. Give them room to talk and be themselves. And that's the key to what we do. And you did such a good job of it. Like I said it in the group text with, I think, you and Pete and Scotty. It did two things for me. It made me immediately want to quit. And it also made me pissed off enough that I need to get better at what I'm doing, because it really is a great interview and you did such a good job with it. And I cannot wait for it to drop during Podathon for people to see again, because this is someone who loves Star Wars and that's what we all relate to. We all love Star Wars. Sure, you can be critical in a positive way, in a constructive criticism way, in a way where you're not a shithead like most of the people, not most of the people, the small part of the internet that makes the most noise.
Loud minority,
the squeaky wheel that gets the grease. You did such a good job of bringing somebody who's been through the ringer and didn't have to do this. He didn't have to.
No, not at all. I mean, I'm still shocked.
More than enough.
I'm still shocked. Like telling you guys that he was in.
That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you so much. I mean, really, like it's hard to like, again, it's hard to like know that praise is like that it's for a real thing because it sounds so made up.
Sure.
That like Rian Johnson did a Star Wars podcast, did a fan Star Wars podcast with no involvement from the company, which I think a lot of people that watch our stuff don't realize. And I'm not like saying that a lot because I don't want to even accidentally come off like I'm like, hey, look at film. But that's just a fact. They had nothing to do with it. They all found out at the same time that the fans found out. And that is stunning because he could have easily hit them up and said, hey, as a courtesy, since I used to work there, I want you to know I'm talking about X, Y, and Z. And then they would have gotten involved. That never happened. And he is, I appreciate your kind words. It really means a lot. I agree with what you and Pete say, your philosophy about asking and getting out of the way. You need to have prep, but then be willing to trash all of it if something good comes up. Chase it.
You have to go with the flow. Feel the moment. Read the room. That's right. Yeah. And you did that. And it was clear that, you had set questions, but when you're listening to what he said, it's that thing of listening versus hearing. You listened to him and you adapted as you needed to, whereas you just heard it and then next point on the list. And it's such a natural interview. It's very positive. It's very happy. And I can't wait for people to hear it. And it's such a great way to go.
Did you have to fight the urge to like Chris Farley this interview at all? Just be like, remember when you had Rey and Kylo Ren fighting side by side? It was awesome.
It's like it really does come down. I think there's like there's one instance for sure where I specifically nerd out about the deleted caretaker party scene.
Yes, that was so
and then there's a couple like specific beats, but the stuff that we get into, it is that energy of like, can you believe this? But also really philosophically that like, I'll
say the Porgs versus Grogu moment was pretty solid.
Porgs versus Grogu. I ask him, do you think are you mad at Grogu for like taking over your like monopoly, like about your cute monopoly? But then also one thing I had to say to him, and this is the nugget that I'll give because I think it's the heaviest and most heady, is there are lots of Star Wars creators. Look at the Skywalker saga, 9 numbered installments. There are 5 human beings that directed those installments. Only 3 of them are alive. Yep. And you're one of them. Yep. Does that freak you out? And so just getting into that headiness. And do you think that like you and J.J. Abrams are bonded forever by being these 2 guys, these 2 kids that saw the movies and then had to continue them? And
that's right.
So
that was one of my favorite parts of the entire interview, because again, when you do the math on it, it's George, it's JJ, and it's Ryan. Like that's who's left.
Irvin's gone.
Irving's
Richard
dead.
Marquand is gone.
Yeah, Richard Marquand's gone.
I was just about to ask about that. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that Marquand passed.
He actually passed away a long time ago. Passed away young.
Yeah. Marquand and Irving or Kirshner are both gone. Yeah. So it's, as far as saga goes, it's George, it's JJ, and it's Ryan. That's it.
And if it were, first of all, I don't believe for a second that there will never be an episode 10. There's always that possibility hanging in the air. But yeah, I do think, if it really were to end tomorrow, if tomorrow Star Wars was Thanos snapped out of existence, those 3 human beings would be bonded forever. It's like it's a fraternity of 3. So yeah, it's really interesting. I'm excited for everybody, and I'm not going to take the interview and tweet it out piece by piece for 6 months. I can promise you that. So it's all going to come out in one chunk for everybody.
Right. Well, it's fantastic. I can't wait for everybody to see it. Alden, thanks for jumping in with us tonight. It's so good.
Hey, thanks for having me. I love calling in radio style.
That's right. Well, it's kind of your deal. It's kind of what you do. We've got another friend hanging out in the background, so we're going to send you on the way to the rest of your Friday night. But enjoy yourself. Good to see you, and we'll see you again soon.
Chris, check your DM.
I mean, I don't know how I'd handle myself if I got to sit down for 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes with the Ryan Johnson. Super proud of Alden, super proud of what it means for Podathon, and it's going to continue to help the event grow and get bigger. So in the meantime, we have another friend hanging out. We've got somebody else that's going to come in here, give us a few minutes of their time. It is everybody's favorite resident Star Wars Zach Galifianakis, Mr. Jerry Cable.
Oh, hey, what's up, guys? Hey,
hello,
good to
Gerald.
see you. Good to see you. Good to be here.
Jerry,
how are you, my friend?
Chris, how's it going? I'm doing very good. You know what? I saw that you guys were on. I'm gonna be live with Alden tomorrow night, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna keep my Friday night free. I'm not gonna get on. I'm not gonna do YouTube things.
Couldn't help it.
But the only thing that is for one thing, I love both of you bastards a lot, so thank you. There's that. But also, I watched the Lego Summer Vacation, and I was affected by all of that. And I've missed most of your conversation. Just say it doesn't
matter.
I don't want to
talk about
step on your toes or
Tell
anything.
Us what hits for you.
Well, I'll tell you, the Force Ghost. I wasn't expecting more Force Ghosts than just Obi-Wan to show up. Honestly, so I think that this is the single best Lego special yet. Like, I've liked the other two.
I agree.
This one hit every right button for me. It hit all of the feels as well. Like, like a cat on a keyboard. But the moment when Leia's Force Ghost pops up to like, I gasped and started crying a little bit. I was like, I wasn't expecting, and it's a Lego thing. I was not expecting though, like, cause she pops up and like, he's like, oh, General Organa. And like, it's like,
damn you, Lego.
Lego. Well, I mean, with like, and she's been gone since right before, I think, The Last Jedi released and everything, so there's that little bit of it. But there's also just like every single thing they've done with Leia, especially recently in the canon and everything. And just like, everything that's led to her, like, you forget. I think people forget she's a Force Ghost. She can do this stuff now. And like, that was just a really awesome moment to have her appear to someone who
And
wasn't
Shelby
Rey
Young's
on
Leia is
Tatooine to
great.
make people think she's going to stay in like Luke's old abandoned home forever and not go anywhere and be with her friends. Anyway, sorry. I'm just kidding. But no, that was great. And also the last, I think it was her ghost telling the last story of her, Han, and Ben, Chewie and the droids going on, a vacation. I would watch it. Like you take a little, you dial the cheese and the ham down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That's an awesome like episode of a series.
Absolutely.
Or something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like right there, like that.
Yeah.
Like I was thrilled and everything. And I mean, I was crying too. Like the whole like everything between Han and Ben was beautiful. The moment at the end where he like tells him like I love you and stuff. Oh my gosh. And he says I know, which is like that's a funny little thing. But I was again crying. I was crying.
Like was it like, oh, this is a beautiful,
not expected to cry during this.
Were you
What's
like,
that?
oh, this is a beautiful moment, or was like, oh, this is
No, it's a beautiful moment because like
yeah.
I look at the whole like me and Alden are kind of a little bit of the same cloth. We look at the whole story kind of a thing, And I'm no Alden Diaz. I don't write threads that should be in the Smithsonian or anything, but or Library of Congress, wherever you want to put them. But you look at where Ben came from. I feel like they've done a lot recently to make it less sad to me. Like it's sad that he does turn to the dark side and everything ends. It ends sadly, but at the same time, it also doesn't, because then at the end, Ben shows up as a Force ghost, which should have happened in Rise of Skywalker. If you ask me, I don't know why they didn't do that. He disappeared why didn't you not show him as a Force ghost? He disappears like Obi-Wan Kenobi. Anyway,
he was changing his clothes, and everything happened so quick.
Right.
He's like, what?
But like just like the whole story of Ben Solo and just like having that little like that's a great little like, hey, look, it wasn't all bad, right? Sorry, Alden. No, yeah, tapestry and all that, I owe him more money now. Damn it.
Yeah.
But like I don't know, just like the moment where Han's like, you're a Solo. Fly or something like he's like, I've never flown, and like that was it was so good. Like all of that was just so exciting, and like I was getting excited. I know people have been really wanting to see, and I know it's Lego, but I know a lot of people have been like, I want to see Ben Solo. I wish we could have seen Ben Solo flying the Falcon and stuff. I wish we could have seen this. Wish we could have seen that. And I think we will get that kind of stuff later on. Like I truly think we're going to get more sequel trilogy content in the coming years with the cast, with the new cast.
And a couple of things. I just saw this looking at IMDb while you were talking, because I realized I was wrong. Rad, the friend, the Kia D, what's his that guy?
I forgot. The
weenie head.
That
guy.
That guy. That's Paul F. Tompkins, who did the voice of that. I was thinking about
hear it now.
Thomas Lennon, who is Lieutenant Dangle from Reno 911, was the indoor hotel guy that they hung
Cooper.
Upside Down.
Yeah.
Even that was the one.
Even
that I had
the like
wrong.
resort thing would have worked for me in live action.
Right.
Frankly,
yeah.
if they would have dialed it back.
Also,
and Cooper was,
according to IMDb, Kelly Marie was Rose. She voiced Rose for this. She's listed on IMDb as additional voices.
I love that still, by the way.
Yvette Nicole Brown, Anthony Daniels, Kelly Marie Tran, Billy D, Weird Al, and Shelby Young. Behind Ross Marquand, who did Han Solo. Mm-hmm. Matthew Wood did Ben Solo. And then, like I said, the guy Eric Bauza, I don't know what else he's done, but he did Luke, and he was fantastic.
Yeah, I was like, oh, they got Mark for this.
That was a
one
good
line.
Luke. Yeah. That was a very good look. So, well, Gerald, it hit you in all the feels, right? Actually, I think Jerry's frozen.
Oh, yeah. Yes, he is. He's very much.
Jerry, we love you. We're going to give you the boot because we had another friend just pop in. So, actually, Jerry booted himself. So,
oh, wow.
Sorry, Jerry. Chris, we have another friend.
Uh-oh.
We have another caller. This is one of the callers. This is somebody that I've been pushing for a couple weeks now when we do streaming Star Wars. And I say, hey, man, come hang out. Come see us. Come do a thing. I'm hoping I'm going to get to hang out with this guy in a couple weeks when I go to Dragon Con in Atlanta. Brian Fry. What's up, dude?
Hey!
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. What's happening?
So well dressed. Look at him.
Yeah,
I
actually,
love that shirt, sir.
put this on this morning. This is not a. Ooh, I'm gonna go put this on before I dial in. Nope,
Nope.
that's all.
He represents in real life. I
That's
appreciate that.
Love
I
it.
do need to get
Love
a podcast of the Wills shirt though, don't I?
That's right. We'll get you hooked up with the Weird Space Friend shirt. That'll be just as good.
I'll wear that at
There you
Dragon.
go.
Get some pictures.
That's right. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm good. The missus flew out to Ohio this afternoon, so I got the place to myself.
Nice.
But I'd hang
So
out.
what you're telling us is you're not wearing pants right now.
It's about to get risky business in there.
Exactly. Exactly.
No.
We're
See,
old.
this I would say this is what happens when you put a bunch of old guys on the screen together.
Yeah, some 40-year-old movie references.
That's right. We're in. So, of course, we're glad to see you. We've talked about Andor. We've talked about Lego Star Wars. We talked a little bit about droids and Ewoks and my terrible thesis that it's the young kids Star Wars, whatever. What's hitting for you this week in Star Wars?
I'll be obnoxious and say we got to watch the Lego special a little while ago, like several days ago. Holly has access to screeners.
That's awesome.
And I loved it. I really liked what Chris was saying, the kind of midway between legends and canon lore that they kind of wove in was nice to hear. It would be, I mean, they're trying to tie things together, even if just loosely, and it would be nice to see them carry that forward into something definitely canon. Yeah. Those specials have always been fun. I've always liked what they've put out. The games too.
Yeah,
Holly plays those more than I do, but they're always fun to and they make them so easy to just step into.
Yeah. I have always been with those Lego games. The Skywalker Saga, the newest one, the one that came out was April, whenever it came out. That's the first one that I've ever played on a console. Any Lego Star Wars I've ever played has always been on my phone because it was iOS. It was usually free. It was easy. And, you know, as a old man with 4 kids and a wife and whatever, like my console time is very limited. So it was just never really a thing. But when this one came out, obviously after the amount of time it took for it to come out and everything else, I was like, I have to do this. And kind of jumped in, played it, and my girls played it. Like they've had fun with it. But yeah, it's such a neat, I don't know, it's just neat what they've done. And they've done it with Lego Batman. They did it with Lego Movie, you know, just that it's its own little genre that I really enjoy and is a lot of fun.
Did they do an Indiana Jones one?
I think there was one in the past. I know there's been Marvel stuff, which all my girls love.
Marvel and DC, they had one or a few because Lego Batman. But Indy, oh man, I don't know if they did Indiana Jones.
I've been console agnostic. I'm still a generation behind on the PlayStation, but I've had Xbox and going back to PS2, PS1.
There has been, yes.
And we've gotten most of them. I don't know if we got all of them, but then they go and repackage them and kind of lump them all together so that like we catch it in.
Yeah.
Lego Indiana Jones. Let's see. It says,
I swear it's in my head. Like Ravenwood's bar.
Platforms. Nintendo DS, PS2, PS3, Wii, Xbox 360.
There you go.
Yep. OS X, Microsoft Windows. So there has definitely been one at some point.
Yeah, I've always been an Apple kid, so games on the desktop have never been like a huge thing.
Right.
But like I remember, if Boop hears this, we won't hear the Magnavox Odyssey 2.
Wow.
Wow. The early 80s.
Yep. Wow.
Yep, feeling you.
Vision. I've still got both of those cartridge things. I don't know what to do with them.
You say in television?
Seal them in resin and like make a game table out of the old.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Yes.
In television ESB right here, baby.
Nice.
Yep. At my disposal, because when we had Kyle Newman on last week talking about video games, I put the 8-bit Nintendo game and this bad boy in the background. So
Growing up Star Wars coming soon.
Yeah,
exactly.
man. If we had like a UHF connector, we could that could be a whole other podcast. Instead of Twitch gaming on your latest console, plug in the old Atari 2600 or.
I talked about this when we lived in Illinois when I was growing up before we moved to Alabama. We had a TV that had Pong built into the TV, and all you had to do was plug the 2 controllers in and push the button, and all it was Pong. But it had the dials, and you just ran that thing up and down. 2 people could play Pong, and it was built into the TV. It was the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life. Like, that was my original video game.
Your Casio calculator watch, make sure.
Exactly. That's right. Who got more time than who? The whole deal.
My science homework done. Can I play?
When I was in high school, the Casio calculator watches, and I didn't have one, but a friend of mine did. They had a feature where you could connect it to the RF feed for like a TV. And so one of the guys in our class had it. His dad was like a doctor or something. So I'm sure he spent like extra money for his kid to have this watch. And while we were watching videos in science class, he could program it to the remote signal for the TV, and he could just keep turning the TV off. And the teacher would get up and turn the TV back on, and he could turn it back off. Beautiful. It was simple pleasures, but you know what? Gets it done when you're in middle school and 9th grade.
Yeah, we're straying way off topic, but I used to scare our science teacher with, those little trays that you put on the scale to test measurements and stuff before this was like an early chemistry class maybe. But I would fill those with washers and weights, and when dropped from countertop height, when they hit the floor, they sound just like an expensive beaker hitting the floor.
Right.
And she would be like, "Those things are expensive," and I'm like, "No, it's just this." And
that's good. Got it.
little mini heart attack.
Yeah,
that's amazing. I love it. My other story, since we've gone off this far off track, when I was in high school.
Friday.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. We're all just hanging out. When I was in high school, my lunch period for I think probably 11th grade was the chemistry lab, and our chemistry teacher. First of all, my chemistry teacher was a chemistry teacher by day. He was a radio DJ by night. I'm pretty sure he slept in his car, came to school in his same clothes the next day. He was the guy that constantly would wear dark colored pants, but had chalk stains on his crotch because he scratched himself after he wrote on the chalkboard. But I also don't think we really did anything chemistry related in 11th grade other than watch The Breakfast Club and, every other, it was just movie day, every day. But we'd come back from lunch in the chemistry lab, and we had the tables where you do experiments, and they had the vent hoods over it that went to outside so you could vent out all the noxious chemicals. Well, what that meant was we'd get back before he did, and somebody would turn the fans on, and we'd say, what can we throw up into the fan? Styrofoam cups from lunch, pieces of paper, things that we assumed were getting chopped up and launched out into the sky over the school building. Until one day somebody decided to throw a paperback dictionary up into the vent fan in the chemistry lab. It didn't chop it up. In fact, it wedged it open, and all you could do is hear the hum of a fan that won't turn but still trying to go. It was bad news. I didn't do it, but it was still bad news for the people that were involved. So
you smell the smoke of the motor overheating.
Yeah, exactly. Shut it off, pretend like everything's cool, and hope he doesn't notice.
Mm.
So Friday night, streaming Star Wars, high school hijinks. That's why you're here.
Woo, we had Star Wars in high school. It's relevant.
Right. Yeah, everything's relevant.
Well, the RPGs, we had the RPGs, right? Well, at least for me in high school,
we had books, man. We had the books.
Yeah.
Truce at Bakura, baby. Isn't that what everybody?
That's where I stopped.
Yeah,
I was
understandably.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's
that's where you drew the line.
Yeah, I was like, all right.
Yeah,
I think my brother and I were reading the books, and we're both like, this is this will be it.
There it is, Kathy Tires. Oh wait,
yes,
yeah, that's legit right there.
Some fantastic books.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I don't know where mine went.
Splinter of Mind's Eye. I used to have that. Yeah, I think I got that up from the library a few times.
Yeah, Buffy Ra, Unsung Hero.
I have the original Star Wars. And I took my Han Solo trilogy to the beach a couple weeks ago when I met up with Scotty. But because the surf was pretty legit, I didn't really have time to read because I had to, pay attention to my kids and make sure they lived. So,
right.
Little things like that.
Han Solo can wait.
That's right. Deal with it, Han Solo.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just, this is what the show is. Growing up Star Wars, right, Chris?
Yeah.
Coming soon. There it is. That's right. Oh man, now we're talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to hang out with Brian's collection.
I used to have that one too. Yeah, and that had them.
Comic version.
So good.
And of course, Jedi, and it's
Had that.
comic version too. Those are prominent on the bookshelf over there.
Nice.
As they should be, because as I have continued to whittle down the modern crap that I don't really need or want in my collection, it's fun to get it, and then I get it and go, I don't really care about it.
Yeah.
It's the things like this that I go, no, this is what I want. This is the thing that I want to hold on to. Those original books, those original posters, those original that kind of stuff.
Hold on a second. I found something.
Oh.
Hold on.
Chris is about to give us his. He went camera off. It's legit now.
You see this behind me. I'm finally putting this together and realizing I don't have the space to show everything.
But it looks good. No question about it. It looks good.
Thank you. I'm about to the point where I need to pick a scale and stick with either the 3 3/4 inch or the black. Yes, what
That's
does
right.
Ryons have?
Mr. Ryons.
Oh, yes.
Oh, hold on. All right, keep going. I got you.
Yes. Oh,
All right.
yes.
In crayon, baby.
Oh, that's
In
what's
crayon.
up.
My handwriting has gotten worse. That's what I'm talking about.
All right. So
yours is in
My-
way better shape than mine. Mine is
mine doesn't have my name in it, so you have the advantage there. I do also have this
Got it.
one.
got it.
Yep. I do also have this one.
I had that, and it's I have it in my cart on eBay. Some dude, hey, I'm buying it off of some dude. Hold on, I found something else. Hold on, let me.
This is my new favorite game.
This is what Grown Star Wars is going to be.
Pete's never going to miss a streaming Star Wars again because this is what happens. Old guy show and tell. I'm glad that there's 3 people hanging out.
Mine's over there. I can't find it.
That's all right.
I'll be right back. Let me
Chris
find
has
my
got
thing.
another one.
That's the thing I've been trying to refine and collate and relocate everything because we left our apartment and moved into our first house like a dozen years ago, and there's still stuff we haven't unpacked. But I'm finally getting around to that, and I was wanting to have everything that was of one particular kind of thing, every category together. But the Star Wars, since Holly gets into them constantly,
yes,
they're like split over 3 or 4 different rooms. So I gave up on them.
Those I can't keep anything anywhere. Yeah, well, as I mentioned previously, since we're playing this game and it's all within arm's reach, I do have my 8-bit Nintendo Star Wars cartridge in the box with the paperwork, the whole deal. Another good eBay find. Now we're talking. The catalog that comes with the toys.
Yeah, baby.
Oh, you're muted, Chris. We can't hear you.
So this was good childhood reading material right here. Just
Yeah, it was.
Yes.
Yeah, it was. Might as well have been the JCPenney Christmas catalog coming out, circling toys.
Right.
Oh, snap. Brian's got the
Look at that.
lunchbox.
And he 3-upped me. He didn't 1-up me. He just 3-upped me. That's fantastic.
He was like, that's cute, son. Have a seat.
Yeah. Let me show you how it's done, youngster.
That's so
That's
cool.
amazing.
Chris.
No,
Wow.
it's straight up legit.
Wow.
The old Joes.
Oh man, yeah, got the Transformers ones too. Nice.
That's awesome.
Got them. Yeah, I had to get these off of eBay because I only had like one. I think I had Return the Jedi, and it was just torn
That
up because I
lunchbox,
just
though,
overused it.
That's for real.
Yeah.
This was used in 1978 or 9 at Richard B. Russell Elementary.
I would say that's yours, right?
Yes, one young, very young.
Amazing.
Ryan Fry.
I have
That's
it's
so great.
it's in my kitchen above my refrigerator. I have the a red Empire Strikes Back lunchbox, a plastic one with the thermos, and then also it has my name on the inside because that was
so good.
I was 5, so
that's legit.
Yeah.
Guys,
These Vans,
amazing.
baby.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. The van set.
Talking about
like we should get like those wraps for like our vehicles today. Like, SUV needs that.
Hey,
yeah.
my wife has a Suburban and it's old and paid for and in bad shape. It needs that wrap. That's what it needs. And as soon as I get her a new car and it becomes mine, that's maybe what's going to happen.
Do it.
Yes.
Do it.
Exactly. Well, gentlemen, this has been fantastic. Brian, I'm so glad that you called in, gave us a chance to catch up, to see you. Let's do it again soon. Let's see you sometime in the near future.
All right. And hopefully, like you said, maybe in person at
That's right.
Dragon Con Labor Day weekend.
For sure. Absolutely. Awesome. Have a great weekend. It's good to see you.
Good to see y'all. Thanks.
All right,
Bye.
brother.
Christopher.
Sir.
We've gone long tonight. We've laughed. We've had fun. I'm going to let Pete deal with how he wants to put this in the audio feed on Monday. That's his problem, not ours. Because guess what?
Not for him.
That's what happens when, as he said to me in a text earlier, he said, I'm adulting tonight. So he's hanging out. He's spending quality family time, which I do not begrudge him at all. Thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. I love this. I love hanging out with you. You, of course, are one of my weird space friends, one of the OG weird space friends. And I forgot, and I didn't load it up. So you and I are also bonded over that little moment of being Crixed way back in the day.
Yeah. I tried to find that picture and I couldn't.
That's okay. We'll circle back to that another day. But before we get out of here, before we let everybody go, we've got a couple of people still hanging out watching. Thank you for hanging out, being with us tonight. We love our friends, our fans. What's coming up for Bro Axiom? What do y'all have going on in the next little bit? What do you want to plug?
Let's see. Next week, well, this Sunday, we'll have another Shooting the Poodoo. Like I said, you're always more than welcome to hop in with us. I'm starting a new podcast with a buddy of mine, which is also going to be in a Bro Axiom feed, but it's not Star Wars related, really. My buddy Mick, he and I used to work together at a Suncoast video store way back in the day.
What's up. Yeah. I know Suncoast.
And so like we had fantastic conversations about movies and whatnot, and we just got along. I don't know if you heard our little origin story, but I went in there for an interview for this spot, way back in the day, and he was his manager, and he interviewed me. His first question, which was his only question, was, "Do you like Star Wars?" I was like, "I'm in the right place." I said yes, and he's like, "Well, you're hired. I'm going to ask you the rest of these questions as a formality. It doesn't matter. You're already hired." And I was like, "Oh, I'm home. I'm home." Yep. And I had a good time. So we're gonna be talking about a bunch of movies from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Just movies that are near and dear to us. And it'll be assignments for each of us. Like one of my favorite comedies is and I don't care what people think anymore, but it's Rhinestone with Sylvester Stallone and Dolly Parton. Yep. And it's one of my favorite movies of all time. And he's never seen it. So I think he's never seen it. So, we'll be doing a show on that. Jesus Christ Superstar is like one of our favorite. Yep. Like I wasn't into that until I started working at Suncoast, and he just like pushed it on me, and I was like, this is great. This is great. A lot of movies like that. Running Scared with Gregory Hines and Billy Crystal. Yep. Night Shift with Michael Keaton and and Henry Winkler, Shelley Long. Mm-hmm. We're gonna be doing a lot of 70s, 80s movies, 90s, some 90s movies. And we got that. Next week's Quick Shots, we've got what is it? Han Solo. Yeah, I think it's Han Solo number 5, Han and Chewie number 5, and Bounty Hunters. Those two comics. Starbros is going to have a new episode out. We're just getting things going. Sean and I right now, because Matt is very busy, because I'm also a part of Blue Panther Milk Co.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
Sean and I are handling the second half of the episode 4.7 4 3/4 script. So expect to get even more ridiculous. So we're in the middle of writing that right now.
And the first half dropped, was it 2 weeks ago?
It was like 2-3 weeks. Yeah,
it was the Friday that I was at the beach and I was gone, and Pete did streaming Star Wars with Reagan. Y'all dropped, like, there are all these things. I'm like, I need to watch all this, and I'm supposed to be at the beach with my family, and I ended up meeting up with Scotty, and it was great.
Yeah.
But I watched the first half of it.
Was that planned, or was that just like, oh? Was that planned?
It was a little bit planned. It was a little bit planned. Like, Scotty's family has literally for like 20 plus years come to Gulf Shores in Alabama for a family beach trip at a condo. Last year we tried to meet up, and I was going to like drive down for the day. It didn't work out. So I knew they were coming, and that was a consistent thing. We had some friends that had a place that we could go and stay. And I was just like, because this is one of those great deep, dark secrets about my family. I have a wife. I have 4 daughters, as I talk about all the time. They all love the beach. I'm not a beach guy. I want the mountains and I want the lake. That's my jam. Like, that's where I want to be. But we haven't been to the beach since before the pandemic. So I owed them. So when I knew the week that Scotty was coming, I knew, we had the chance to maybe go and stay somewhere. I was like, we're going to make these things. Yeah, I worked a little magic. I'm not going to lie. It was a little bit of manipulation, little Palpatine action on my part.
So Palpatine,
little sheepish, but it worked out perfectly. So that was also the weekend that the first half of the new Blue Bantha dropped, and it's hilarious. I encourage everybody to go check it out. So I can't wait to hear what's going to happen with the second half.
Yeah, me neither, because the AI is insane. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm dreading it at the same time. But yeah, it's like I've read a little bit of it.
There's the Podfather checking in late.
Yes,
he realizes we're up past curfew, which means he's going to have to edit this. But Pete,
sorry, Pete.
Hope you've had a fantastic night.
It's all my fault, Pete. Don't take it out on Nick. It's all. Sorry.
Outstanding. Well, as I continue to wrap it up, adulting saying hi, exactly. As we continue to wrap it up, this week on Podcast of the Wheels, ATG Cast, we're going to get, as I said in the news, we're doing some best of shows between now and Podathon. We've got a bunch going on. We're working on Podathon, me and Pete and Scotty, getting that stuff organized. So taking a little bit of the pressure off, we wanted to go back and, pull up some past episodes, things that we want to resurface. So this week it's going to be Lauren Mary Kim. If you don't know Lauren Mary Kim, first of all, shame on you. Actress, stunt woman. She doubled for Ahsoka for the animated Clone Wars Season 7, The Fight with Maul. She was in the mocap suit with Ray Park. She doubled for she was Morgan Elsbach in the first Ahsoka episode in Mandalorian. She doubled for Diana Lee Inosanto. She's been in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., tons of stuff. Super fantastic. We did this interview last year sometime. Super fun listening to her talk about her Star Wars experience, being a part of that. So that's going to drop this week on Thursday. That's when we do that. And Podathon. Thepodathon.com, at thepodathon on Twitter, social media, all those places. Lots more news drops coming out this week. We're going to start dropping guests for other shows. We're going to start dropping more prizes, raffles, all that kind of stuff. So be sure to check out the Podathon. Most importantly, go to thepodathon.com. It'll give you the link to donate directly to Make-A-Wish. That's pretty much it. Chris, we've had a fantastic Friday. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Thanks for being my weird space friend brother from another mother. That's just where we are.
Always.
Absolutely. Thanks for everybody hanging out. Thanks for everybody watching. May the force be with you always.